know what? Actually, we'll go ahead and start now. I'm going to. So today we're going to be chatting about marketing yourself. So I'm just going to share my screen here a bit. So marketing yourself. So what does it mean? What does it mean to you when I say, marketing yourself or branding yourself? What does it mean to you?
I wanted someone other than me to answer.
For me, it's putting myself out there in front of people I just don't know or outside of my comfort zone.
Cool. All right. All right. Anybody else?
Knowing the difference between your home life and your out there life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. I love it.
Trying to distinguish between your political views and your business views.
Yeah, that's solid, eh? Absolutely. That's a good point. Everybody knows that we have clients in the South, in the southern states, right? There's a lot of political views that you might have that you might not want to share publicly, like now. But yeah, you have to keep those things in mind for sure. So today we're gonna do a bit of an exercise, of course. What? Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. So today we're going to do a bit of an exercise, and that is we're going to find out, just a little bit about how we view ourselves. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to put down, up to 10 words that describe you, how you see yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. I'd like for you to just put that list together. This is not a list of words of how you want to be. It's the way that you view yourself right now.
My mom is going to come on. I just have to send her the link.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So 10 words to describe you. How many people are finding this really easy? You're just breezing right through it.
No.
And then I'm going to pick on somebody to share with us their list. It's really funny, Maggie, having that second head pop up every now and then.
I'm sorry, Ivan, I was late. What are the 10 words describing us as for what?
Yeah, so 10 words to describe you, how you see yourself.
Oh, okay.
And let me know who's done. First five are always easy.
I finished mine.
You're done? You've got 5?
I got 10.
You got 10? Okay, good. That's a positive.
5. That's about it.
All right. If you've got 10, that's great. You know what? I'm going to just ask someone to tell me their 10 or share with everybody their 10. Who wants to volunteer? Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Well, naturally, I said fearless as my first one. compassionate, strong-willed, go either way, loving, intelligent, loud. Let me say that louder. Motivated. I wrote scatterbrained because I didn't know how to write ADHD.
Okay, all right.
Hardworking and an overplanner.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay. And you know what? So Lindsay just shared with us, her 10 words, right? How many of us, while she was saying those things, were going, yep, that's Lindsay, right? Yeah,
Y'all can put
loud.
your hands up.
Yeah, loud for sure. Yep, that's her. So this is really, really important that we because these are good words, right? These are positive words. Even the scatterbrain or the ADHD or whatever it is, or the loud, these are still very, very positive words. Anybody else want to share some of their words, the words that they describe themselves as? Go ahead.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I interrupt anybody? No.
No.
Okay. So I wrote assertive, realistic, thoughtful, can-do, creative, technologic, resourceful, bullheaded, tunnel vision, and ambitious.
Awesome. There's the CEO right there, right? I mean, for sure. So that's good. Okay, so we're getting a good idea, right? We're getting a good flavor for how. I'd like to hear Maggie. Maggie, what do you have?
Okay, well, let's see. Slightly crazy. I think we all know that.
Awesome.
Scattered, changeable, spontaneous, the big one. Shy, intelligent, inconsistent, too nice at times, creative, and untapped talent.
Wonderful. Okay, that's good. That's really, really awesome. Anybody else want to just volunteer before we go on to the next one?
I don't have 10, but I can.
Yeah, for sure. Catherine, I was going to pick on you, but I thought I'd let you volunteer.
It's okay. I apologize, guys. I'm just in for a little bit putting orders together, but I couldn't miss this. I'm strong. I'm excited. I'm bullish. I'm a happy person. I'm willing and I'm reliable.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So I want you to just bounce those things around in your head as you're listening to the different people talk about what their 10 words are. And you get a general idea. This is how we view ourselves, right? Now, of course, the next one is going to be obviously is how other people view us, right? So how do other people see you in your view, right? When you walk out of a room, what do people say about you? Give us 10 words.
Man, I thought the first one was hard.
Now, be honest on this, because we're not going to be sharing this with each other. Okay, we're not going to be talking about what we think other people say about us. This is definitely for us to look at ourselves and evaluate our brand. Okay.
Pretty much the same as before.
Okay. So, so the first time I did this was in 1986. I was doing a presentation, and yes, Lindsay was like 15 then. So in 1986, I was doing a presentation, but the school had us come into a room of people that we had never met before, and they had us do a pitch on something that we thought was healthy, right? So we had 5 minutes to come in and convince people in the room that what we were suggesting as being healthy was something that they should try, something that they should try in their homes, right? Or in their day-to-day. So we would go in and we would present on those things. And of course, my thing was garlic, right? Because I think garlic is healthy, right? It also keeps away vampires. So I went in and I did a presentation on.
That's a fallacy.
I know. Okay. Been bitten, have you? Okay. So I went in and I did my presentation on how amazing garlic was. And you know what was amazing is I got a lot of feedback from people in the room, in nodding and eye contact and everything else. And then I left and I thought, okay, obviously everybody in that room, they're going to go and get garlic, and I'm going to be voted very, very high. But found out afterwards it had nothing to do with garlic. It had to do with how people viewed me as a person after my 5-minute pitch. And it was very, very eye-opening. Because as business people, when we go and we present to people, how are we leaving them in that presentation when they don't know who we are? It was very, very telling. It's something that we should actually do one day with a focus group and get some folks to evaluate you that you've never seen before. Anyway, so take a look at those two lists. Take a look at the first list of how you view yourself and the second list of how you feel other people view you, or what people would say about you once you leave the room, and tell me what the discrepancies are, or what you think is kind of opposite, the largest chasms between those two. Go ahead, Lindsay. I know you want to hit the button. Talk to me.
Well, my list was almost the same, but I put all the negative first rather than the positive first.
Right. Okay. Anybody else? Teresa, you're holding up the microphone as if you're gonna talk.
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess the imposter syndrome would probably be what I would think of, because I think of myself a certain way, but I, try to get other people to think of me a different way, that, I'm a professional in business and whatever else, but I don't always feel that same way. So I guess the imposter syndrome would be the top of my list.
Okay. All right. That's fascinating. Okay. I'm learning so much about you. Okay. Maggie. Maggie M.
I guess like one thing I noticed is that I think that my thoughtfulness can be misconstrued as naivety, because I have heard that a lot, where like that's feedback that I get from like some bosses, that they think I'll be thinking naive, and I'm like, no, I thought this through. So there's like a mishmash in there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maggie S.
Okay. Very similar in some ways, but maybe a few more negative stuff,
Okay. All right.
Focus, and plus my bad teeth. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Catherine.
Sorry, Maggie, I was just gonna say, you only notice your tooth for a little bit. Once you start talking, you don't notice your mouth at all, by the way, just so you're aware.
Exactly.
My list was pretty the same. I think I come off as reliable or knowledgeable, I'm sorry, to other people, but maybe I got, like Lindsay was saying, the more negative, like I'm quite blunt and direct, and it's just like, come on, let's keep going. Let's not stall this train. So pushy, I guess.
Okay. All right. Sheila.
I think for me, I feel like because people tell me that they see that I'm more knowledgeable and stronger.
Good.
And I don't see that. So
Fascinating. Isn't that interesting? Okay, Linda, if you're there. I can almost imagine you trying to find the spacebar key. Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. We'll come back to you. Okay, so here it is that there are things about us that we tend to the negative side. We tend to think that people are viewing us in a negative way, or there are physical attributes that we might think that they are considering. There's always this little bit of doubt, a little bit of self-doubt. So then the question is, if that is the way that they are being left, and by the way, none of what you've said is in itself a negative thing, nothing, right? But if that is the evaluation that you think that they're going to have for you, how do you counter the potential downside, the potential negative? How do you counter that? How do you counter that? How do you make up for the difference there?
I think it's having confidence in yourself. You got to know what you're about and you have to believe in yourself. Otherwise, what everybody thinks of you is just going to pull you back and hold you down.
Absolutely. But go ahead, Lindsay.
I was going to add on that I add more people in my life that have confidence in me rather than the people who think negative of me. So that it builds up my persona of myself. That's why my list was so similar, but like, I don't think of that anymore, to be very honest.
Now think about this. You're branding yourself, right? So you're branding yourself as a certain way, right? And so whenever there is, we should always be evaluating the potency of our brand, right?
Right.
We should always be thinking of our brand as you know, in relation to our personal mission, our personal goals, our fiscal objectives, all those things we should be evaluating constantly, right? And learning from others, and then repackaging ourselves. And it sounds cold and distant, but really, it's kind of important. But let me just get to the last one of this exercise, and then we'll move on. And that is, okay. So here it is. How do you want others to actually see you? Okay. Strengths or weaknesses. Now I know that I put down 10, but I want you to distill it down to 4 words. 4 words. How do you want people to see you? But I'll put something in there as well, right? Someone who comes across as solidly one way may not be as attractive as someone who has flaws, right? Right? Because everybody likes that person who's a little quirky or a little flawed, right? Just a little bit, the perfect person, kind of drive me crazy. So think about that. How do you want to be seen by other people? All right, so that one should be a little bit quicker. So before we go through those, one of the things that we learned in school was that when you are having a conversation with someone, you're going into a sales environment, you're talking to that person behind the desk. There's a number of people that are in that room. There's who you think you are, and who he thinks he is, who you think he is, and who he thinks you are, right? And then if there's other people around, it's who they think they are and how you think that they're interpreting you. And there's this absolute noise bash going on in your head, right? Of all of these things. And we're constantly reading signals, right? That becomes much, much more difficult. And Linda could probably speak to this. It's much more difficult when you do not have an absolute certain view of who you are, right? Because we're not all the same people, right? Lindsay is one person when she is communicating with her client. I'm here. I listen to it. She's a certain way, right? She's a certain way when she's here with me because she's all energy and focus and rah, and you can do it, Ivan, and all that stuff. She's a different way when she's at home with Phil and relaxing and, in her comfort zone. It's different, right? We're not always the same people, but we need to understand that when we step out of our zone, our sanctuaries, and we step out into the business world, then who are we definitively? So I'm going to start with Teresa. What do you have on that? The 4 words.
So that one I have as, formative, successful, organized, energetic, go-getter, hardworking. So I came up with more words.
No kidding. Okay.
That was my
Lindsay.
easiest list.
That was the easiest. That's right. Okay, good. Lindsay, you're next.
I did 10.
Of course you did. Go ahead.
Strong, powerful, fearless, independent, intelligent, confident, decision maker, friendly, compassionate. But this next one goes with like being a decision maker. I want to be easygoing because I don't want people to feel like I'm drilling down a hammer on them. So
awesome. Maggie.
Which one?
Maggie S. Sorry.
Okay, well, I just did 4, but I could think of a few more. Confident, spontaneous, knowledgeable, creative, and this isn't one word, but can't be taken advantage of.
Okay. All right. You listen to that, Pfizer. Okay. Catherine. And you're on mute.
There we go. All right. So I have personable, knowledgeable, reliable, and happy.
Beautiful. I love that. Okay. Sheila, you're up.
Compassionate, knowledgeable, genuine, and strong.
Nice. Okay. All right. Linda.
Well, I kind of cheated a bit because I took my comments from my reviews.
Okay. Nice. Okay. All right.
So most of my reviews will say that I'm confident, knowledgeable, approachable, and kind.
Okay. Nice. Okay. And then Maggie M.
I wrote down ambitious, trustworthy, assertive, and talented.
See, I love these because when you have staff, it's nice to do these kind of shows because then you find out a lot about your staff without them knowing that you're prying, right? This is good. Thank you, Maggie. That's good. Okay, so listen, here's the thing. If you were to build a branding statement about yourself based on what you see here, I just want you to write it out. I want you to write it out, and then I want you to paste it in the chat with your name on it. I want you to think about your branding statement for yourself based on what you think other people think of you, how you view yourself, the gap between those two, and how you want people to perceive you. What's your branding statement?
Does it have to be a polished statement or?
No, because we're gonna take another look at that branding statement at the end of this because we haven't even gotten into describing what branding is and looking at examples yet. We haven't gone there. So we're gonna do that and then we're gonna come back to this. right. I stopped hearing that thumbing, you know, the typing sound. Okay, good. Fearless is up. Maggie's up. Good, good, good. Good. Love it. Okay, so I've got 1, 2. Okay, I'm not missing anybody, right? I've got Maggie and Maggie. I've got Lindsay. I've got Catherine. I don't have Teresa. Where are you, Teresa? And I don't have Sheila. All right, while they're getting that done, I'm going to ask, what is the goal of personal branding? We touched on that at the beginning. Just remember this, that you never, ever, ever get a second chance to make a first impression on people, right? But equally, you get many chances of becoming like everybody else. You in the person that you're speaking to's mind, when you build rapport with somebody, you constantly have opportunities to become normal and like everybody else and fitting into the grayness of the marketplace, right? You get many chances to destroy your brand with other people, tons, right? But you get one chance to make a first impression. So, and we all know people that we have engaged with, and then they're going through something that they share publicly with everybody. They're going through something personal that they share publicly with everybody, including all their business contacts, right? We all know people like that, right? And that's okay. If that's their brand, that's great. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that we should evaluate what our brand is, because when that is out there, you can never take it back. And if you change someone's perception of yourself, it's really hard to create a suppression campaign to change their minds back to the way that they used to perceive you, right? It's really important that we understand how important it is that when we build mind share, when our brand is shared among other people, that we protect it. Because once it is destroyed or tainted, it's really hard to get it back. Okay. So, you know, and of course, the line that I used earlier, that's from Jeff Bezos from Amazon, obviously. His famous quote was, "Your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room," right? Because we can say whatever we want. We can tell people whatever we want. We can put it in nice italic print on our business card. But you know what? It doesn't matter what you print. It matters what that's your focus group. When you leave the room, if people are going to say nice things about you, that's your focus group. Okay. So your brand is how you present yourself to the world. It's how you differentiate yourself from others. So imagine that there's a room full of people, and you know, and they're picking people for something important, and everyone else is kind of mundane. But then who's going to stand out in that room? Right. And it's not just who knows you, but it's who knows you to be a consistent producer or a consistent thinking, whatever, somebody who's consistently this way. Right. So, this is really, sorry, I'm thinking that you guys are reading along with me and you're not. There we go. So basically, it's really important that you just protect that as much as possible, especially on social media, right? Because it's amazing how, you know, I will do stuff and then all of a sudden somebody from LinkedIn decides that, you know, that they're going to come over to Facebook and just see what is going on. So, you know, very often I'll reevaluate what I post on Facebook. I'll go back through and go, oh, you know what, that's really way out there. So I'll remove it, you know, because it's just not something that's going to work for me, right? So it's important that you protect that brand. Okay, anybody's thoughts on that? All right, so name 3 things that most people do, or you see people do. Name 3 things most people that you see every day do not do that would immediately change the way that people perceive them.
Sorry, that they do or they don't do?
They don't do. You're
Oh.
walking down the street, you're looking at everybody. Everybody's walking around, everyone's doing things, everyone's at Starbucks, or their lattes, they're in the elevator. What are they not doing that would change the way that people perceive them?
How they wear their clothes. I can't stand men who wear their pants down their ankles.
Okay, they're not pulling their pants up. That's one. Okay, that's right. Absolutely.
I
You
would
know,
never give them my business.
yeah, definitely. They don't get many dates, right? So what else?
Say hi.
Say hi, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say ignoring people or pretending they don't see you.
No eye contact.
Yeah.
Where's the smile? No smiles. When you see somebody walking down the street smiling and you know they're not on the phone, right? You want to say hi, hey, how are you? Right? And then if you see them again, you don't even know why you have a nice vibe about this person. You don't remember that you saw them 3 weeks ago walking down, but you just, yeah, there's something about you that I just like, right? So these things are things that if you want your brand, if you happen to be somebody who sells, skulls and satanic things, then you probably don't want to be the smiling guy, right? But if your brand is to be warm and fuzzy and to attract clients and all that stuff, think about the things that make you feel warm and fuzzy and attract clients, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, this is if likability is important to your personal brand, then consider this. On Ready, Set, Psych, here's a list of the traits that, this is not rocket science, right? Right? I mean, this is not rocket science, folks, right?
Right.
Right? Because even if you go to dating sites or those dating blogs where they say the things that people, look for the most in a partner, right? In business, if it's all about relationships, then guess what? There's a lot of crossover, right? So we're looking at social, somebody who's social, right? Friendly, reliable. You got to be able to rely on them. They're open-minded to conversations. They're not going to shut you down, right? Emotionally stable. That's kind of helpful, right? Emotionally stable, right? Confident, right? Emotionally intelligent, positive influence, similar to others. Now, when I say similar to others, what I mean is that they're not, I don't want to use, don't take this word wrong, but they're not offensive in any major way. I mean, you don't want that every time that you step into a room, everybody's eye goes to that person, right? They're similar generally, but they stand out, obviously, because that's why you're with them, and they're somewhat easy to read. Ever walk into a room with somebody that that's a friend, but you always know that you don't know how they're going to be until about 5 minutes after you see them, because they could go either way, right? If you have a great need, that's probably not the person you're going to call out to, right? Because you just don't know what you're going to get. And so therefore you just need to think about those things. Okay. 3 other things that came up, of course, is intelligence, empathetic, and encouraging. Really? Anyway,
Get them to come on the call.
and persistent. I mean, honestly. Okay. So key considerations for personal branding. All right. So, be yourself. Don't be somebody else. Don't try to be Ivan, right? That would just be, self-defeating. But yeah, be authentic, be yourself. When you put on a persona, make sure that you're putting on a persona that's yours, right? Because then that's just too strange. Have a focus. Right now, consistency in your mission, right? When I get down to consistency down at number 8, we'll delve a little bit more into that. Know your story. Do you ever have somebody that you say, so what brought you here? And then, an hour and a half later, they're still telling you their story, right? well, when I was 17, and then on 18 and a half, and then, and they're thinking, my God, that guy's 58. I should order lunch, So that's another thing. Know your expertise, right? You can't be everything, right? I mean, I was thinking, that when I have, a larger office space, that I would actually create a coffee bar, and I would offer up lattes and everything else. But it's kind of weird if you walk in and the marketing guy, right? Your marketing brilliant person is also then running behind the counter and say, would you like a muffin with that? Would you like a scone? Right? A little weird, right? You can't do everything. Know your expertise, right? Control your channels. Yes, you have Lindsay. Yes, she's doing your social media for you, but you need to educate yourself as to what is going on, and you need to understand the technology, because Lindsay could say anything to you. You don't know, right? You trust her, right? I trust her, by the way. Lindsay's great, but you need to understand the channels and what she's doing with your brand out there. Do you understand your brand, and do you look at how you are communicating your brand to the world? Because everything that's put out there, every infographic, every word needs to be evaluated by you. If you're detached from it, then you don't really care about what goes out there. So definitely look at that. Okay. Don't let others tell you who you are. That kind of goes along with the previous one. Don't let other people tell you who you are. They didn't take your journey. Do you ever have it where you start something and you start to tell people and they go, yeah, but you're not that, you don't know. You didn't take my journey. No, I'm not knocking coaches. Coaches do an important role. They can help you to get to where you need to go by helping you to overcome things. However, don't let other people tell you who you are. They didn't take your journey. Listen for indicators that your personal brand is missing the mark, right? This is where you're trying to accomplish something, but you have self-defeating habits, and they might not come right out and tell you, right? Because they're not that close to you, but you can read it. And if you see that consistently, always be listening for those indicators so that you can adjust your brand. And then here we are, number 8, be consistent. Being consistent is very similar to having a narrow focus. Now, doesn't that sound bad? Having a narrow focus kind of sounds bad, right? But it is much easier to get recognized for one topic if you consistently create content and brand voice around it. Okay, it's important, right? So ensure that your personal brand promise stays consistent both online and offline. That's Fiona Young. She's the director of Millennial Leadership and Coach, director and Millennial Leadership Coach. She's saying that having a focus, and I don't know, Linda, do you deal with folks on this level?
Oh yeah, people who are looking for career changes, anybody who wants to make a big change in their life, absolutely.
And do you get some times where people say, and I really want to do this, and I really want to do this, and I'm also thinking that maybe I could do this, and they're kind of spread across a large spectrum, right? And
Oh
you're
yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
you can't do, you have to, I know it's scary when you eliminate a whole whack of things that you could potentially do, and then
Mhm.
focus on this one thing. It sounds scary, right? But
Yeah, no, I tell them to pick one thing, what their biggest focus is and what their biggest choice is. Like what's your main choice, sorry, and what we want to focus on
And
first, because
focus-
yeah, you can't do everything at once.
and then of course people say, what does this person do? Oh man, he wears many hats, right?
Mhm.
Well, that doesn't help me. How do I Google that? I'm looking for somebody who wears many hats. That doesn't work, right? So therefore, be very focused in what you're doing, okay? Know your value proposition. If I were to say to you, what is your value proposition? What would your short answer be? And then this is not your business brand. I'm not talking about your business brand here, right? That's coming up. I think Lindsay's going to be talking about that in a future episode. But know your personal brand proposition, your value proposition, and then figure out how your personal value proposition aligns with your business value proposition, right? Because everybody who works with me, when they come on board with me, I look at them. Usually we deal with companies that are 25 folks or less. So when they come to me, I say, we're going to brand your business for sure, but we also need to think about you as a personal brand. And then we're going to use those two channels, those two streams to be able to drive traffic. So then you need to be consistent in both, right? But they need to align, or else then it doesn't work, right? So we need to figure that out. So know your value proposition as a person, and then of course think about your business value proposition, and let other people tell your story, right? So I love it when people come on to This Great City's coffee call, and then they have a spontaneous testimony, right? And they tell my story for me, right? They tell my story through their story, right? It's really cool, right? So let other people tell your story. Encourage them to tell your story. Set them up to tell your story. Because when other people tell your story, then Lindsay was telling me that she has a client who, if you don't mind me sharing this, Lindsay, Lindsay was telling me she has a client who said, Lindsay, even though when I hired you a few months ago, and we didn't have a lot of business going on, I got to stop you right now because I got too much business. Right? So
my mom knows this client.
so basically, if that client now goes off and tells other people that story, right? They're going to go, well, who's this person? And then they're going to tell your story, but you need to frame your story. I mean, that's a testimonial. You need to frame your story for them so they feel comfortable repeating it. Right? That's where you become viral, right? So let other people tell your stories, and don't hesitate to fail. That's not what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to fail, but don't be afraid to learn from it. Right?
Yeah. And like him dropping down means I can open myself up for more opportunities as well.
That's right.
So I can, even if he drops down his spending, I can still go out, and he already gave me like 3 other clients that he knows that he wants me to work with. So I can focus more time on them.
What does that mean to you though? It means that he's telling your story to others, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right? He's sharing you. He's telling
the value is still very much what he's spending on me.
Right.
What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's right. And he's putting his own rep on the line by telling people about you, right?
Yeah.
So that means he's put his seal on you. He's put his stamp on you, which is great, right? So here's the thing. Do you ever find folks that are just afraid to learn from things, right? They figure that they did it one way, it didn't work out so much, but because their wife or their husband or their friends tell them, listen, you got to do it a different way, they go, gall darn it. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to try it again. And it doesn't work. You go, it's going to work this time, right? It doesn't work, right? Just don't be afraid to learn from your failures. All right. All right. So I hope I kept that within, what time is it? Awesome. I got 10 minutes. Okay. So anybody thinking about their own brands right now, their own personal brand right now, and how they can shape it, or they have questions about their brand and they're not sure how to overcome it? Sheila, you're shaking your hand, or anybody?
Sheila can go first.
Okay.
Oh, I totally have no idea about myself, honestly. So,
Okay.
like, no joke. I that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this series, because I have a huge problem, with branding, period.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So listen, it's complicated, because then it's just evaluating exactly, like where you're at right now, and taking a look at your communication strategy right now of how you are putting yourself out there, and making sure that the wording and everything else is true to the brand that you want to shape for yourself. right? So, so maybe we can take a look and evaluate that sometime.
I was gonna say, Sheila, that I can't market myself if my life depended on it. So this, I actually consult with Ivan because I need an outside perspective of it all. It's really hard to get outside your own actual mind with like that exercise. As you saw that like, you know who yourself are, but other people think of you something differently.
Right.
I love focus groups. So like my focus group would be Ivan and Teresa and my mom, basically, to figure out how to brand my actual company. Because I always say this, and I say this every day, therapists need therapists. Okay. It's true. We need to talk to other people to be able to figure out what works for us as well. And like Ivan said, we all have our focus groups. So
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, just the exercise that I did today, we whipped through it because we have an hour, right? But this is something that, you know, on your own, I would really take some time and think about it, because sometimes you'll put a word down and say that's going to be what I want to do, and then you think, you know, that's not really true to what I want. I want to get granular on exactly who I am, and then practice it tomorrow. You know, tomorrow, this afternoon, start, you know, avoiding certain things, start dressing the part. I mean, what does that person look like? Dress like? What does that person walk like? You know, how do they communicate when they're with people? How empathetic are they? How good of the listener are they? You know, what do they talk about? And I'll give you an example. This is just a blatant example of probably not the way you want to go. You know, when you bump into somebody and you just, you know, shooting the breeze, or you're on, you know, an app, and you meet somebody there and you say, yeah, so tell me what you do. And then they go on about themselves. And then, but that's okay, because we want to promote ourselves. They go on about themselves, and then they never get to asking you about you, or they never, you know, they just want to talk about themselves. An hour and a half later, you're still listening to them talk about themselves and what they do. And every word that comes out of your mouth, they go, yeah, exactly. Like, and they go back to themselves, right? That's probably not, you know, when you think about inviting people to talk to that person, the answer is no, right? I mean, I'm just not going to subject anybody to that, right? So if his brand, if he wants to create a brand where people run, then success, wonderful, you're doing it, right? And he's doing it effectively. But if the goal is to have people want to spend time with you and want to learn from you and want to do business with you, then that's probably not the way to go, right? You need to stop and put down the keywords, then figure out, how do I actually live that out in my public life, right? You know, so that's basically that. Anybody else? Okay, so folks, listen, do the exercise. If you want a copy of this, it'll be up on the, if you want a copy of my sheet here, let me know and I will send it out to you. And of course, the video will be up sometime before the end of the week. All right, thank you guys very much. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, Evan.